For the first time ever, I am thrilled to say we have an official sponsor for the Dirt Talk podcast, and that's Ariat. I've worn Ariat boots on every job site I've visited over the years, traveling in them across 5 continents. More importantly, I have yet to find a single project where working folks, unlike me, are not wearing Ariat boots and workwear in every condition imaginable. And there's really good reason for that, and that's because it's phenomenal stuff. And the more I've learned about Ariat and the company, the more I've loved their brand. So with this, Ariat is offering any Dirt Talk listener 10% off their next Ariat order at ariat.com/dirttalk. That's 10% off boots, jeans, and workwear at ariat.com/dirttalk or at the link in this episode's description. With that, let's get to the show. The last time I talked to you was probably like 4 years ago. It was a while ago.
Yeah, about 3.5 years ago, I think. 3.5, 4. I can't remember now. Yeah.
It was a minute ago, but I guess I've been talking to you on the internet since I began posting, but you've been posting on the internet for a lot longer than I have.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. You come on the scene and shook things up really on posting pictures of the equipment. Obviously, took things to another level. So
tried my best, but you've seemed to keep up all right.
Where
did you start posting online?
I think way back. I think I was a member of this this forum called Heavy Equipment. I don't know what it was called, Heavy Equipment Forums or something. Well, I don't know. Maybe I put some pics on there years ago.
Yeah.
But then I think like I didn't want to. I think I've mentioned this before. I didn't want to swarm my personal Facebook page full of albums of diggers, and Instagram sort of come around, and I thought, well, that's an avenue I can. People don't have to follow me or be my friend, if you know what I mean. Family, whatever. I can just put all the pictures of all the heavy equipment on there out the way as such, and do my thing on there, and then just keep my Facebook feed to all my other friends free of diggers, because they'd probably be sick of it, if you know what I mean. So, but then that was Instagram. Like I could say 10 years ago was so much different, if you can remember. There was no video back then. It was all just images, wasn't it? And the whole explore page and hashtags was a lot different. There was no reels, there was no music, and so it was all just photos back then. So
I still have when I scroll through my old photos, I still have screenshots, because I remember that's exactly what I did. I made a Instagram page so that I wouldn't be putting all the heavy equipment stuff on my personal page.
Yeah.
And that's why I made the Build With name. But I remember before I did that, I followed a bunch of heavy equipment pages on my personal accounts, and I have screenshots. I distinctly remember a lot of WA stuff because it just looked absolutely wild. These big excavators with this bright orange red dirt out in the middle of nowhere. And I still, like, I'd be sitting in the gym in college looking at these photos, just mind blown, because it looked so foreign.
Yeah, it's definitely like Mars, it's blue skies most of the time, but red dirt, and just ridiculous handrails over every piece of equipment and ladders.
Yeah, we went to it's funny. We went to West Track in Perth.
Yeah,
both their facilities, to see where they were getting different things built. They had at one of the facilities a 994 going together, and then the other one they had I don't know how many D11s. They had a few 6060s. They had all kinds of 793s, 992s, 993s, and it is mind-boggling how much money they spend on these machines. So they buy the machine, but then just how much money goes into the base machine to get it up to spec for the mines out there is crazy.
Yeah, mine spec. It's a big. You even see it when machines are listed for sale. That's a big selling point for the machine, that it's like mine spec.
Yeah.
because the modifications required by a lot of the miners are, well, the big mining companies are just, it's just through the roof, like up to fire suppression and all the e-stops and then all the railings and then all this. Some of them dictate how many plant identification numbers which are got to be placed on the machine, like rooftop little number things or stickers on the counterweight, stickers on the boom, and just all the other modifications to go with it. Ladders are a big thing now. A lot of mine sites basically won't accept contractors' equipment through the gate if it doesn't have a ladder on over a certain size, if you know what I mean. So we're saying maybe D10s and up, but I've seen ladders on loads of other machines, even scrapers. We've got the mine site I work at. We've got one 637, which they use just for spreading gravel around on corners, and they've got a ladder system on the front of that as well. It's quite amusing.
Well, and they also said that like the different mining companies have different specs. So they have the mine spec, but then there's like the BHP spec and the Rio Tinto spec and the Roy Hill spec. And so every operation or company has its own spec on top of the mine specs.
Yeah, I know. I remember some BHP or Rio, one of them has a particular color which they wanted handrails in or something, but I think they've now dropped that because Caterpillar are now obviously, I think a few years ago, like when you bought a D10R or whatever, it was a D10R out of the box. But now, obviously, when you buy a D10T, or they're actually a Fusion now, they come with all the handrails on them. It's an option, obviously, you can tick, but I think it's pretty much they come from the factory with all the Caterpillar handrails, whereas they come in a black color. But I do remember years ago that aftermarket handrails had to be a certain yellow to be fitted to a machine. So stupid rules. I don't know who makes them up in the city. They're obviously getting paid good money to come up with all these different rules to insist that these machines have all these different modifications to be allowed on site.
What was, I think, the most interesting on our recent trip was we went to New South Wales coal mines for the first time. I'd done a lot of coal up in Queensland and the Bowen, but I'd never been down to it's like the Latrobe Valley or Hunter Valley.
Hunter Valley, yeah.
And so I guess, and you know this better than I do, but all the machines have to have sound suppression on them. And so
yes,
everything is sound suppressed.
Yeah, they've all got these massive big cooling, basically all these cooling vents on the radiator cores, haven't they, to reduce the noise of, say, the cooling fans and what have you, and on the excavators as well. So, it's just crazy, the modifications they've got to do for that. I don't think. Yeah. That's kind of unique to that region, I think, really.
It's just that region. Yeah, but they said all the mines require sound suppression on everything. And so you have, if you have a 30-ton excavator, it's sound suppressed. And if you have a 900 or an 800-ton excavator, it's sound suppressed. Everything has to have it.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I guess they got no choice, have they? They just got to bite the bullet and spend the money on these modifications so they continue mining, It's, It's,
right now we don't have to get into company specifics because I know that's where things get weird, but what you're fly in, fly out, Western Australia, what are you running these days?
So I work for, I guess we won't go into names, but I work for one of the bigger mining companies in Australia, working at an iron ore mine in the Pilbara region on a 8 days on, 6 off roster, and then 7 nights on, 7 off roster. So my role is production excavator operator as well as dozer operator as well. Typically, the way we run it is we'll have one excavator and dozer in that dig cell, and they're just paired up. And for example, I could say be on the excavator for the morning stint till, say, I don't know, 10:30, and the dozer operator has already been in, had like a 30-minute break, and then he'll come out in a light vehicle, LV for short, and like a Hilux, and we'll basically do a hot seat. So he'll or she, sorry, he or she will then jump in the digger, and then I'll scoot off then in the Hilux back to the like a crib up within the pit, have my break, and then I'll get on the dozer then for like a middle stint and go have my lunch. And then meanwhile the digger's still swinging from the other operator. I'll have my lunch and I'll take that Hilux out again, hot seat them out, and then I'm on it then for the last stints, for like the last 4 hours of the day. So that's how we usually run it, just a pair up. It's just random operators of my crew every week. Sometimes you've just paired up with someone else for a couple of weeks. This is where it is. But yeah, it's all good though, really. Sometimes, yeah, that's just basically how it runs, really. A lot of my time for the past, I could say now, probably say for the last year, I've pretty much just been on 996B Lee Bears the whole time. Mm-hmm. And then the dozers we use are just D10s. We don't have any D11s. Wish we did. A lot of us would have come from different jobs and different contractors which have D11s, but they're the bean counters for who I work for believe that we can do the job with D10s. So yeah.
And the dozer's mostly just cleaning up the floor.
Yeah, most of the time just cleaning up the floor, chasing the digger. But I mean, there's also a lot of work to do. Once that's up to scratch, you know what I mean? There's other like step-up supervisors and pit techs who will contact you on your two-way and be like, hey, could you nip down the road and we're going to, adjust this road, like moving the windrows, or go up to a waste dump, which is nearby. Because we're mining iron ore, we're progressively backfilling previous mined out pits so we're always sort of making sort of new roads and shorter routes for the haul trucks to just reduce the haulage time, and then just backfilling old pits which were mined, say, a couple of years ago. So yeah, we may just track the dozer up and just push the dump off, or doing something completely different, like just pushing down a ramp for like basically another road or something. But for the most part, we are mostly on the floor chasing the digger. Just
how many floor. At this operation? How many big excavators are there?
We have 12. So we got 6 996s and 6 9400s. They're all Lee Bears.
Okay.
So yeah, we do have some big loaders as well, but we've got 5 994s, but they rarely are in the pit working on a face. They are usually they're usually hanging out by the crushers, which are our big ROM pads, the run of mine. So they're basically there to keep a consistent feed of iron ore into the crushers, which is going to the plant when certain amount of diggers are going through waste material and overburden. So yeah, sometimes when like quite a few diggers are all pumping out the iron ore, like these loaders are just parked up, not doing nothing, So yeah, they don't really, they aren't worked that hard. But yeah, sometimes when they are needed, and yeah, they're under the pump and they're just smashing out trucks all day on the ROM. But for the most part, they aren't doing much, and they never, like I said, they never rarely utilize them in the pit. It's always the diggers doing the production work.
It's nice now talking to you too, because I can visualize all this a lot better now, having been to the Pilbara.
Yeah,
it is one of the things that was so interesting was there's not a lot of stripping involved. It's, at least at a lot of mines, it's very little stripping to get to the iron. And then The other thing that you kind of just mentioned was that the iron grade is changing throughout the entire mine. And so to feed what the plant needs is you're basically switching to different diggers, different ore grades nonstop to blend it all together and get the exact blend that the
Yes.
mine produces.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So there's been so much geological mapping of the mine, and they know the particular types of grade each digger's working in that cell. They can sort of, the mine planners will plan for that shift that day, that say, oh, no, that particular digger is going to dig 30,000 ton. We're going to get 5,000 ton down here off this loader, and we're going to get some other good dirt over here, and it's all going to go in the crusher and all be mixed in the mill. And don't ask me what happens down there in the plant. We're just in the pit, just digging hell for leather. But yeah, it's all mixed in, and they make that particular grade which the client wants, which is mostly going to China. I think some of ours goes to Japan as well. But so yeah, it is pretty interesting, all the grades which they require. Yeah, it does make that particular grade of iron ore which is required. Yeah.
And you do 12 hours on, 12 hours off, and then there's a camp out at the mine that you live at.
Yeah, correct. So the accommodation village I stay at is, I would say, it's about 20-minute bus drive from the mine itself. So I mean, you're not hearing reversing beepers and blasts or whatever. It's away from the mine. There's no dust coming through the village. Some mines I know of, it's next. The village can be quite close, but ours is just 20 minutes away. Yeah, it's a 12-hour shift. We hot seat out the opposite shift, so they can't go home or basically park up the equipment till we've arrived in the pit in a bus and then got out into individual four-wheel drives and driven out to all the different excavators in the pit, and then hot seated them out, and then they can go home, and then vice versa the next day. So there's no stand down time. There's no turn diggers off. They don't even turn them off until they have fuel, which is once per 24 hours for each machine. So yeah, it is a 12-hour shift on site. Yeah, plus the travel as well. So, but we're getting paid 12.5, I think.
Are you loading? What are the trucks like out on this site?
We have the Cat 793Fs, and we are using the Cat autonomous MineStar command system for the trucks.
So the trucks are all autonomous for the most part?
Yeah, every truck we have is autonomous. We do have 2 789s, which are just used for mine service work, just for building roads and stripping topsoil and what have you, but that's something to do with the production side of things. Yeah. So all our trucks are autonomous through the Cat MineStar system. So yeah, as an excavator operator, all the loaders, say the 994s we have, there's obviously a MineStar screen in your machine, and it's all touch screen, and with the click of the button of your joystick when you're in an excavator, you're setting a spot point, but then you can go onto the screen and adjust the angle of the truck coming in, and then you click confirm, and then you click another button on your joystick then for the truck to reverse in, and then reverse into that exact spot which you've selected on your screen. And once it's loaded, obviously you're getting an accurate, well, sometimes accurate. I've had a few dramas with the system myself lately, getting some overloads, but once it's at that target weight, then you're clicking it out on what used to be the horn button, and the truck's away then. But yeah, just to get efficient with that system, you've basically got to think of that whole dig cell, or we call it a AMA, or active mining area, within that excavator is working. You, as a production operator, have sort of got a plan ahead of where your next truck is going to be positioned to load it while you're loading the current one. So you're either setting the second spot point as you're chucking a bucket of dirt on the back, you're slewing a little bit past it and then clicking select for another spot point, and then continue digging, loading it on, and then you're on the joystick, pre-programming where that next truck is coming, and also selecting the queuing point, which we call the cusp. So where that truck will drive in, its LiDAR system on the front will scan the area of where it's going to reverse in, because if there's a rock there or something, or a bad wheel rut where it's soft, it won't reverse in. We do have issues with that from time to time when we do have some bit boggy floors, or we do have a rock falls off the side of the bench. It's a safety precaution. They won't back in. As production operator, you've got to be on the ball of where your next truck is and where your next truck is cusping to then reverse into you, and that's all counted into your overall dig rate. So it doesn't matter if you can load a truck as quick as can be if you've got your trucks queuing half a K away and they're not backing in correctly, or you haven't got one queuing in the queue bay, that affects the overall dig rate of your performance will then be reduced. So it's important to be on top of that, really. But it's an easy system to get your head around after a while, So it's not like you're panicking, if you know what I mean. It's very simple once you're used to it.
How do you like working with the autonomous trucks?
Personally, I love it, and most people I work with feel the same. We all sort of in agreement that we could, probably find it very difficult to going back to a manned site, purely because that truck is exactly where you want it to be and when you're loading it, and it can be slow at times when you're in a confined, smaller area, because the trucks, they just don't like turning around in confined areas. But Caterpillar are doing updates all the time for this system, and we did have one recently, which basically gave them more advantage to turn around in a small little area. Like the swing I just done, I was on a night shift and I was doing a drop cut on a ramp, so my trucks had to basically turn around, do a 180 within just a 2-lane ramp, and then reverse down to me. But they didn't have sometimes I've done them before, and it can be very painful, just stressful, because you're talking to the control team who are based in Perth, and you're just like, oh, this truck doesn't want to come down. And they're like, oh, it's freaking out. It's looking at the windrow and it's looking at the high wall and it doesn't want to move. And it's just a big gridlock. And you're just like, oh, God. But no, I didn't have any dramas this week. So, the upgrades they've done are obviously working for that little bit anyway.
You can't swear at the truckie for backing in the wrong spot because you're the one doing that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all on you. Yeah. If it's in the wrong spot, but and that does happen from time to time. I haven't done it myself much lately, but I do hear it from other people. They'd say, "Oh, I can't reach that truck. Can you send it out empty?" But it's not an issue really. At the end of the day, the control team and supervision team would rather you send that truck out empty. You can either do a U-turn somewhere down the road, or it can just go to another dig unit nearby, rather than you trying to be a hero and tail load the thing. So you've got this big heaped up of dirt right on the dovetail, and then it's spilling rocks as it's going up the road, changing gear, and then the graders are calling up going, what's going on? It's no big deal. If you can't reach it, just kick it out and just try again. So it's okay.
How on a good shift, how much material are you moving?
That's a big one, because we've had a bit of poor truck availability lately. Well, in the past year, well, the thing is, our site, they brought in another 996 from another site nearby. And the idea was that they were going to do these major birthdays on our other 996s. So they brought in this other one just to take the slack. And well, look, we're going to do a big rebuild on this one. Well, we're going to get another one because they don't need it. But it turns out they just put it into service. They did a heap of work on it, and then just didn't even take the other ones out of line. They just didn't increase the truck fleet. So we've been down on trucks for a while, and so our overall between individual diggers has been a lot lower than what's been expected. But we do have something like, I can't remember the figures now. I think it's like 40 new trucks coming soon this year.
Wow.
They start rolling in soon.
Uh-huh.
So it'll take our fleet up to over 70 then, I think. So then we should be busy. But yeah, like I don't know, on a 996, if typically what we used to be getting is high 40,000 per digger for the 996s.
Wow. Okay.
But we're not rarely getting that now due to just to how many diggers are out there, and long runs and other things come into play. So I would say the average sort of day shift now for a 996 is maybe mid-30s, mid 30s, high maybe. I mean, the last swing I was in a good bit of nice little honey hole of iron ore, and yeah, we're getting consistently like 38, 39 each night, you know what I mean? But that was because I was just in a nice bit of iron ore. It was a good quick run down a hill down to the crusher, you know what I mean? So they were giving me a few trucks, but well, it also depends if that particular digger's got a certain amount of grade, then it all goes back to that blend, you know what I mean? So they schedule in, say, particular digger I was on, they only want, say, I don't know, the target is 35,000 tons per shift out of it. And once that's sort of reached, the trucks will sort of, which is very frustrating if you're on you've got the music pumping and you're pumping out the dirt, and we sort of reach that target on your MineStar, the tons per shift, and then your trucks start disappearing on your dispatch screen, and you're just like, hang on a sec, I've got 2 hours to go here. I could make 50 grand. But where's the trucks gone? And yeah, they just disappear because old mate down the road is just nowhere near his target, so they pump him up with trucks to get the target up, and then yeah, you're just left twiddling your thumbs sometimes for the last hour or something. That's just the way it is. It is annoying, but who knows? Once they get all these new trucks on site in the next year, then no doubt we're going to be pumping out a lot more tons. Really,
it is quite fascinating too how they at least where we were with Rio Tinto, they were explaining how the trucks essentially just optimize themselves based on what diggers in what ore grade and based on what the plant needs at any given time. And so the trucks are just automatically optimizing across the entire mine based on what is going to the plant at any given time, which is it's just insane how smart the system is now.
Yeah. And also with ours, there are aspects of that with the CAT system as well. But sometimes, like the control team in Perth, they like to keep the wheels turning essentially on all the trucks. So you could say the crusher's gone down, and we've got all this dirt, all this good iron ore, and we don't know what to do with it. Sometimes they'll get diggers to take a relocation, like 10 minutes down the bench to pocket of waste which is down there, and dig that out. Or sometimes we're only in iron ore and we can't put it anywhere. They'll send the trucks on like a Kentucky tour, like all around the mine site, just to keep them going, if you know what I mean, on a long run. Which defeats the object sometimes, but sometimes they just want to keep them moving. They don't want them queuing up. So, and the same with waste, they'll send them on like a long waste dump run. just to soak up a lot of trucks if something's happened or a road's out of use or stuff like that. So, but yeah, it is
And
very intelligent system. Yeah,
and you're saying all of this is run from Perth, and
yeah,
you're in Perth. You live in Perth, but Perth from the
yeah,
mine site is what, an hour and a half flight, 2 hour flight?
yeah. It's an hour and a half flight, so I think it's, I don't know how many kilometers it would be. It'd be over 1,000, maybe 11, 1,200 kilometers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
a long ways away, and all the
Mhm.
trucks for all the mines are run out of these central facilities in Perth, which is also
Yeah,
mind-boggling.
yeah. All the big miners, all the big iron ore miners will have their operations all based in Perth. And yeah, it's um, all the control and autonomous dispatch and all the rest of it is all sort of run from the teams in different Perth offices. Yeah, um, yeah. That's another amazing thing about it as well. Really. Um, yes, yeah. Obviously, there is glitches from time to time, but you know on the whole, it does work pretty well. Yeah,
On on the Perth front, this past trip was my first time to Perth in WA.
yeah.
I really like Perth. I'm a big fan of Perth and WA. I've
How
been
long were
to
you?
I've,
How long were you here for in Perth? Because I was up on site obviously when you messaged
yeah,
me.
we missed each other, which sucked because I'm where you are halfway around the world and yet you're working. We were there, I think 3 days, maybe
Yeah.
4. So we didn't like really get out, but everywhere we did go was gorgeous. We went to the mine, and then we went up to Karatha, to Cape Lambert,
Oh yeah.
and then we got to see a bunch of Perth while we were in town. But I've been to Melbourne, I've been to Sydney, I've been to Brisbane, I've never been to Adelaide, been to Hobart, but Perth, it was like, okay, I get it. This place is nice. This is not a bad deal out here.
Yeah, no, Perth's a great city, I love it. Yeah, I love it in Perth. And well, Western Australia in general has
Yeah,
just a massive variety of terrain and climates. Like all down south, you got these big forests and lakes, but up north you've just got the deserts and iron ore ranges and fantastic beaches along the whole coastline and white sand and yeah, just great climate there. Perth gets, I think, on average 300 days of sunshine a year, so it's
yeah.
yeah, just a great place to live for me personally, and loads of other expats who've also come over here and all over Europe as well. Well, and there's a lot, a lot of New Zealanders here as well. So yeah, there's plenty of people flocking here.
Yeah, where you're from, there's not exactly 300 days of sunshine, that's for sure.
Oh no, you'd be lucky to get 30. God, bloody
um,
hopeless.
the when we got off the plane at the mine site with Rio, the very first thing you could not help but noticing were the
Flies.
flies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
God.
was, so everybody before we go out there is messaging me like, "Hey, the flies are going to be bad. Get ready." I'm like, "Okay, I think about what bad flies are, and it's like you kind of have to swat them away every once in a while." But we get off the plane, and it's just like the airstrip at the airport or at the mine, so it's not like an
Mm.
airport. You get right off the plane, you're on the tarmac, and it is just immediate. They are all over you.
Yeah, I mean, like they aren't like that all year round. They just have a
Yeah.
couple of months where they just sort of rock up and they just annoy the shit out of everyone, and it's
Yeah.
just horrible. Like they'll stick to your clothes, obviously, as you've seen the pictures, and you don't even know they're on you. They're just and
Yeah.
like I say, I'll get in a digger, and then um, you get in the zone, you start loading trucks. Next minute, there's like one crawling in your nose, one in your eye, and you're on the joysticks, and you're just like, get off. It just drives me insane when they're inside the cab of the machine.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, bloody flies. But yeah, we've got fly nets obviously in the PPE cabinets. I don't care; they look ridiculous, but I'll just wear them. But you always get like some hardcore Aussie, and he's got them crawling all over him, and he's
Uh,
like, bit friendly, ain't they? And I'm like, what? Just just swat them away, mate. They're like, they're right. And you're just like, just, yeah, some people are just, they don't care and they just fall all over them on their food. Yeah. And I'm just like, I
Uh,
don't care. I'm wearing those nets. I'm just wearing
yeah.
hats. I've got all this fly stuff. I'm rolling it on. Sometimes that attracts them even worse, I reckon. But
Uh-huh.
yeah. Nah, but yeah, there was a couple of months when you were visiting. Yeah, they were real keen there for a couple of months, but they're sort of gone now.
Yeah.
Thank God. Because yeah,
Yeah, they said the week before we got there was horrible, and they were like, yeah, you couldn't stand outside because they would almost pick you up and carry you off. There were so many of
mm,
them. But when we were there, it was still it was like before that, the worst flies I'd ever experienced. It was probably like a factor of 100 times whatever the worst
mm,
my worst fly experience was. That was it. And they
yeah,
can't do anything to you. They're just super annoying.
yeah. I know it. Yeah, it's
Uh,
just horrible. Mm.
Um, so you've spent a lot of time in mines. You've spent some time in civil, but you've been on the contractor side doing like the smaller work. I know I've seen you do many years of the smaller excavator stuff, and then I've seen you do plenty of the bigger excavator stuff, like the 996s you're in now. Which do you enjoy more? Would you say?
Oh, it's I admit right now I'm just a big digger slut. Really, it's all about moving the tons, just getting in that zone and just bulking it out, just pumping the loads out. For me, I just love it. And but so yeah, I've been mining now for 4 years, iron ore mining, and yeah, still have a fair bit of enthusiasm going into work each other following week, and you know, getting stuck into it, and yeah, trying to do a decent job up there, really. So yeah, so I do enjoy that the most. I mean, there are times where it can become very repetitive and boring, but you've just got to look at the bigger picture, and that's what I always do, thinking like it's a very good wage, and essentially I'm only working 6 months of the year, earning
Yeah,
more than what I'll be working if I was in civil, where I'll be working every week. So you just got to look at it that way, and just the lifestyle. And I sometimes when I'm on a dozer up there and we're doing, and one of the step ups or supervisors just like, oh, it's just a quick job, just push here and do that, and that'll be fine. And then I go back to my civil background. I'm just like, oh, I'd love to get up on that batter and do a nice, nice slope design and
uh-huh.
make it real looking, real slick. But it's just not required half the time. It's just functional, and that's a functional safe. Doesn't matter how pretty it looks, but sometimes I do get the chance to, you know, go back to doing some nice work. But like I say, most of the times I'm always on big diggers, so I don't get a chance really to do any, you know, really go to town on some nice work. But that type of work is always reserved for a different department, which is called mine services. So they
Yeah,
do all the rehab. They do a lot of the major roads around the site. But on some occasions, we do help them out, and then you do get the chance to do some nice tidy work. But it all comes down to like leaving a tidy floor. I always like to leave a nice tidy pit floor as well as a dump. It all helps. It all helps everyone else around the mine site in different machines, graders and water carts. If you're leaving it rough, then it's just been rough for them. So I always try to go leave a nice floor finish. And yeah, um, I remember one time I did do some overtime on site, and and instead of flying home, I basically stayed up there and worked the whole week with another crew.
uh,
And I was on a brand new D10 T2s, and I was cutting a ramp down for an old waste dump, and they wanted to basically run the trucks at the top of the waste dump and then start tipping over the back there. And yeah, the supervisor there was just like, "Oh, I want you to start pushing this down," and I just gave him my sort of plan of attack, and he was sort of impressed, and he was like, "Oh, well, how about you stay on it all day? He didn't really, because I was on a different crew, didn't really know who and what my capabilities are, if you know what I mean. So I stayed on it
Yeah.
for the first day, and the next day he was just like, oh well, how about you stay on this dozer all week, which is unusual. Usually you're hot seating different machines throughout the day. So I just stayed on that D10 for a whole week and just took ownership of this big ramp job. And I thought, all right, if they're going to leave me on this for the whole week, I'm going to cut the batters in both sides, leave the winner at the bottom and the road in the middle. Just done went to town on it. And I was like, I got like bonus points for that. I got praise for it by numerous people. Everyone's like, oh, have you gone and seen that ramp? Bloody mixed done up on the hill. Like, yeah, because I just had a time up my sleeve just to think. There was no design for the batters, and I was sending this D10 over like 2-in-1 batter or wherever it was. I don't know. It was pretty steep and just made it look real nice. But so that was in place there for about 2 years, and then just recently I was working in that area of the mine, and they've started backfilling over the whole lot. I was like, oh, there's my road, it's gone now. Yeah. But anyway,
it doesn't last long.
No.
On the production front too, every time I post a photo or video of a production machine, like a 996, a 9800, 9400, whatever it is, everybody, well, a lot of people always comment, man, that must be fun for 5 minutes. And I can't imagine that would be just so mind numbing. But the people I meet that do it, I feel like that's only a comment somebody who's never done it makes, because like that's like the telltale sign that you've never actually done it. Because everybody I've been around, even like drag lines, for example, you would think drag lines are so boring, but there's so much thinking that goes into it. And everybody I've met that runs them, they're not. Yeah, it can be monotonous some shifts, but they're never really bored because they're always thinking about whatever's next.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely can agree with that. And I see these comments all the time on social media, Instagram and Facebook. There's a big digger posted and someone's just like, oh, that'd be boring as hell. I'd fall asleep and just digging, loading trucks all day. But I'm telling you now, I've come from civil, so I've been there, got the t-shirt from all the other types of earth moving, and being on those big diggers, you cannot switch off. Very rarely can you switch off. You've got to have your game face on to think, what am I doing here? The whole loading of the truck, the actual range of slew, how much you're slewing into the truck, the position of the digger on the bench, because there's 600 plus tons. You want to crumble the bench and roll that thing off. Like that's a lot of paperwork and a big pineapple. So you got to be on the ball, and also like you don't want to be hitting it. The reaction time and the speed these things, although they look slow when you do in-cab footage, when you're hanging onto them sticks, sometimes it's not slow, and you can't slow them down sometimes. Like they'll just come in and wipe the side of a truck out if you're not on the ball of where your bucket and boom are slewing into a truck to load it. So you can't switch off, and the same with the autonomous system. Like you're in your mind, you're planning where that next truck is going the whole time, and you're calling it in, or you're calling control saying, "Hey, I'm going into some oversized material," or because they're relying on your particular pocket of your cell of iron ore. But if you're coming up to some waste material, or you've got to let them know, say, "Hey, I'm coming into some waste soon." So hence, like they'll send some extra trucks to a loader which is waiting on the big stockpile just to. So you've got to be on the ball, telling them what's going on, and I'm like a rabbit in a headlight. Sometimes I'm just like concentrating, and you can't really switch off. I don't think so. Yeah.
Have you had the chance to run a 9600 yet?
No, I haven't. But we are actually getting one very soon. A couple of months' time.
Nice.
Yes, looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no doubt everyone else on the site I work at is going to be looking forward to it too. So
I'm sure. Yeah.
who knows? There's going to be a big queue of people to get their hands on that thing. But yeah, we are getting one soon in a couple of months. I think it may be in Perth now, getting built up. I'm not sure. I've been so busy at home lately doing some home improvements. I haven't really had a drive down to
Yeah.
look around the industrial yard and peek through the fence and see if I can spot one. But I think it's that one you may have spotted. I sent you the address to. It's possibly
Yeah.
that one. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
The one that we saw, they weren't building it yet. It was all just in pieces
Just
sitting there.
fresh off the boat. Yeah.
Yeah. They were working on, it must have been like 5 or 6 dozers while we were there. I've never even, I've seen I've seen like one at a time just at trade shows. So I think they had one at Balma maybe.
Yeah.
And they had one at
Oh,
Mine
the
Expo. What is it?
776. Yeah.
Yes, 776. I've never actually seen one out in the wild, quote unquote. And then there they were building like 6 of them in a row, just in a parking lot next to the airport, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I've never sat in one of them either myself, but heard good things about them. Yeah.
Yeah, the 9600. You've probably heard more about it than I have, and know about it more about it than I have. But I've heard that thing is like the absolute cat's meow. It's as good as it gets.
I've got some guys I know on social media who are on different mine sites in the Pilbara, and we're messaging each other all the time, and they're just like, this thing is, it's a dog's bollocks. Apparently, according to them, and they're a lot more experienced than me in the mining industry. They've been on various different diggers, all the O&Ks and the Cats and Hitachi's, and there seems to be a lot of praise for Liebherr's new 9600. So yeah, it'd be cool to when that thing arrives and give that thing a go. So it's just going to blow the production rate out of the water though for the older 996s, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then I still have a lot of praise and for the older 996. They're still a good, reliable old workhorse. And
it's crazy how many hours some of those have on them, and how old some of them are.
Yeah. Hours are way up there in the hours. They're, I don't know. I think the one I was on last week was late 60,000 hours. But I mean, a lot of people go, oh my god, 60,000 hours. But they're changing engines every 15,000, and the amount of money and rebuilds and preventative maintenance the company I work for does on them is just unreal. I flew out the other day and they done a complete strip down of one of them. They've jacked up the undercarriage, and then they've got a hydraulic generator pack and walked out the old undercarriage, and then walked a brand new one in, and then connected it up to the slew ring. Didn't even that's just mind boggling seeing that stuff from a distance, what they're up to,
The whole
the frame, it's the original frame hours are the highest, but all the components are changed out. Once they reach their certain hours, they're just replaced, and it's sent to be refurbished and sent to. It's either within the company's sort of database of parts, or it goes back to Liebherr, I think, just to distribute around to other models.
Yeah, we went. We saw Caterpillar's rebuild facilities on the East Coast and the West Coast, and it is insane how much they're rebuilding at any given time. But a lot of that stuff is the truck components, because the trucks are the same way. You have a frame with all the hours on it, and you can even remanufacture the frame over and over and over, and they just rebuild these trucks repeatedly. And especially, there's some trucks up in the oil sands with way into the 100,000 plus hour range, and they've been up in the oil sands for decades, just getting absolutely abused. And they just pull them into the shop, rebuild, strip everything down, rebuild it all back up, just send it back out for another 20,000 hours, 30,000 hours, whatever it is, and then just pull it back in, rebuild it, and just around and around they go.
Yeah, the great example of that would be all those old scrapers over in Southern California. I just can't believe they're running those old B series over there, and they're ripping out the old V8s and putting in new Tier 4, engines in them, and they don't even. It just makes me laugh. Like they put the, not make me laugh, but like they put a really modern engine in it, but it's still got an open ROPS. It doesn't even got any glass. I don't even got any glass in the cab.
No, they spend $250,000 on repowering a new 651 or for a new engine, a 651B, and I've sat in the cab of a brand new repowered one, and it is like you just step back in time because it's like a machine made in the 70s, I think it is.
Yeah,
and so I mean the cab, they don't even change out the seat. Like the cab is straight out of the 70s, and then there's this brand new like LED or screen, whatever it is, for the brand new engine, but otherwise everything else is just the same complete shit that was in there before.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe that.
What is going on?
And they don't even repaint them half the time. Like that's just
no,
it's
a waste of money.
Can't believe why they do that over there. I mean, I know that Australian scraper operators wouldn't put up with an open cab these days. Anyway, I don't know why the SoCal guys are doing it.
I don't either, but I mean, it's funny. I've seen them wearing like ski goggles while they're running these things.
Yeah, I've seen those pictures as well. God.
Yeah. So they're just, and then in the real old school scraper outfits out there, they'll have the 51s. So they'll have the B models typically, and then they'll push them with 210s. So they'll have a push block on 110. So the first 10 will come in, then the second 10 pushes into the push block on the back of the first 10, and those Bs are filled in like 8 seconds, 10 seconds at most. It's insane how fast they fill.
Yeah, I'd love if I ever got over to the States to just go and see a big scraper spread like that in action. I just think it'd be awesome, just double pushing with 10s, those scraper fleets, and just seeing those twin 57s all paired up. You see those pictures in Southern California, and it's just nothing like on the rest of the earth, where they're just literally bringing down a mountainside, and they've got so many of them. I can't imagine the fuel bill. It just must be crazy.
I'm going to post this morning actually some pictures of a 57 spread I just saw a few weeks ago in Arizona, and it's like, I mean, they're just, it's awesome because they're just running all on one circuit, and the whole circuit is just full of 57s. So everywhere there's 57s in the cut, 57s on this haul road, 57s in the fill, 57s on this haul road. So it's just nonstop, and it is so cool to see.
Yeah, would be. Yeah, there are a few 57s over here in WA, but not to the extent of what that's over there. But you never get to see it. You never get to see them in that working environment anyway. They're usually tucked away on mine sites, so
I mean, Southern California, it's really one of the only places in the world you'll find 57 spreads that frequently. Like for the airport in Sydney, for example, they had a monster scraper spread out there, but that's like that a job like that doesn't happen every day, obviously.
No, and they were planning that for years, getting all those scrapers built for that job, rebuilt, and they're all from, I believe they were from multiple contractors as well. So,
basically called everybody with a scraper in the southern hemisphere.
Hey, you got any spare 31s for next year?
But in California, you've got the Sukits, the Peds, the Independents, and Coburns. I mean, they're just these monster spreads that they're just moving from job to job to job. This landfill cell is finished. Okay, you just put the scrapers on floats, send them down to the next landfill job, and then just let them eat again. And they're just nonstop keeping, like, they have to, and it's in yards in the States, but you have to keep tens of millions of yards in front of these machines because they're just so hungry. They just,
Yeah.
all they do is eat. And so you need so much dirt in front of them.
Yeah, no, it's incredible.
With the one fun fact we were messaging the other day, and the one fun fact you said was that you've been able to track down every D575 dozer Komatsu in the world.
Yes,
How?
yeah.
One, why, and then, but two, more importantly, how?
Yeah, nerd alert or train spotter alert. Well, I don't know. It all sort of spanned from like years ago. I was working for a contractor and I was on a D11. I was ripping heavy rock and we were struggling to get through this rock. It was very weird geology where there was clay underneath this cap rock and we needed the clay to build a tailings dam on a gold mine. And it was all covered with this bauxite and cap rock, about 2 meters thick in places. And the client didn't want to do blasting because the blast energy usually goes into the clay and doesn't usually fracture the rock. So they were like, we need to rip it all. We had like 3 D11s in there. I was on one and busting our backs and wearing off ripper tooths. And I even broke one shank, I bent another, and that's a whole different story. Well, I was on the D11 I was on had a triple shank box, and triple shank box on the D11 uses a D10 size shank, D10 size shank. So you shouldn't really be ripping heavy rock with a triple shank box on a D11 because you got all the power and weight D11 all going through a D10 size shank. So obviously shit had to give somewhere, and yeah, I bust 2 shanks. I think they've done 3. I don't know, but anyway, we were having a right nightmare with it, and boss man was out and supervisors were out, and they were like, "Oh God, we may have to hire in a 575." Because a previous contractor was working in this area and they hired in a 575 from another contractor, and it just ate through this rock like a knife through butter. And I was just like, well, yeah, why the hell are we struggling? Why didn't we get him in like a month ago? And I was I wasn't young up, but it was probably, this is about 10 years ago. So I was just, didn't really know much about the Komatsus. I heard how big they were and how powerful they were for rock ripping. So that sort of just spurred my interest from there. And then I was curious about them. And then there was a contractor down, this is about 2 hours south of Perth, and they had some in a yard. And I drove by and I was like, wow, I took some photos of them in the yard. And then I spotted another one in Perth in another yard. So I was like, I just didn't really think how rare they were. And I just thought, they're around, I've already seen like three or four of them now. Then I spotted another one in Perth, a big, like a super dozer version. This is the one which doesn't have the ripper on the back. And it just sort of, like, I was interested in them. They were they were huge, but I didn't really realize how rare they were and how lucky I'd been to see that many. And then I put some pictures. Obviously, I was putting pictures on Instagram now. 575 stuff always gets a lot of interest, and had some people messaging me about them. And some guy wanted to come over from Eastern States. He'd never seen one before, and it was a special trip. He just wanted to come and see them. He's like, "Where are they?" I told him where they are, and then another guy messaged me, and he was like, "Look, there's a guy in Germany that makes these scale models, 575s. Can we have some photos of one, the detailed photos of one to recreate a specific example of one?" So I got my drone, took more photos of them, and then we all sort of got together in like a messenger chat. And they're all within the industry, not operators, but like in the sort of technical side of the industry, and got talking about them. And the one guy used to work for Komatsu, and he had loosely had some serial numbers written down of who owned what. And then I don't know, we just got talking about how many where they were in Western Australia, and just I got in contact with some people at Komatsu and tried to get like the database from them. And I don't know, it just sort of slowly but surely we were sending feelers out there and asking people here, there, and slowly but surely we just pieced all the puzzle together of this is over like 2 years probably, of how many were sold and where they went and which contractors had. We were searching all across the internet, sending emails out, and because there wasn't that many of them built in the end, we closed the net in relatively quickly and sort of plugged a few holes, and yeah, we ended up finding where they all ended up being, and yeah, it turns out that there was only 53 built. I just assumed that they were a lot more popular because I initially saw, 5 or so around Western Australia, but it turns out that they were very rare. So yeah, we tracked them all sort of down via photos and emails to different companies, and yeah, just sort of became fans and sort of because they aren't made anymore, and then they were the biggest production bulldozer built, apart from that big Eco one in Italy. But I guess just being a bulldozer operator, you just sort of think, oh wow, it's a big tractor. So yeah, we just had this sort of passion for them and just wanted to keep their sort of history alive, if you know what I mean, and set the record straight for a lot of people on the internet who would badmouth them just for being Komatsu, or would just heard that they'd broken down, so they were just like they were junk and blah blah blah. It's like, well, actually, they were, a decent machine if they were looked after, So,
well, how much heavier were they than the D11?
So there was 2 variants of the 575. There was the Ripper version, and there was the Super Dozer version. So the Ripper version come in at say 135 tons, whereas a D11 is around 110, 115 or so.
Yeah.
And then the Super Dozer version was around 153 or something tons, with just the big carry blade on the front and the counterweight on the rear. So they were very, very popular in the States for the strip mines, for just basically bulking off the overburden to get down to the coal.
Back in the good old days. Yeah, and in contrast, I think Caterpillar's built over 6,000 D11s now. Is it over 5,000 or 6,000? I think it's over 6,000.
Oh, yeah.
So it's either 5 or 6, and so at this point it's hundreds more. But there's a ton of 11s. 11s are everywhere now. I see 11s all the time. I'm spoiled. I get to see them often, but they're not uncommon. But the 575, I've never seen one before.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Come back to WA next time. I know where a couple are. I can take you down there.
Are any actually working in WA though?
2, I think. 2 really? Occasionally, yeah. Of the
in
Ripper
bauxite?
version. In bauxite, bauxite and gravel. Yeah. Only 2, that's it.
Are they the remote control ones?
The one was remote control, but I believe that remote control system has now been sort of deactivated because that particular mine has got the new 475s in. So they've got the new 475-8, which is using a Komatsu remote control system. So I think they kind of had to use part of the infrastructure which was running the 575, is now running the 475. So they've had to park it up, and because of the running costs of it, they've obviously made a decision that it's just too expensive to run. Unfortunately.
Are the only running 475s then up in Asia?
Yes, they were a lot of a couple of years back. Because we knew everything more about them than Komatsu half the time. But yeah, something like 5 or 6 were sourced from across USA and Western Australia combined, and they were all sold to China. But a lot of 3 of them have now come for sale. So it's under our assumption that those giant ripping excavators you may have seen on social media now, I think those things have now just flooded the market there, and they're just using locally made Chinese excavators from like Sany and Lugong and I don't know, XCMG or whatever, and just getting those big ripper, hydraulic ripper arms on them. And these aging 575s are guzzling the fuel down and they can't get parts for. They've just parked them up, I think, and just using these excavators instead. So, yeah, I don't know how many are working over there. You just can't get any information of anyone over there of what they're doing.
It's tough. I want to go over there and visit some contractors, but it's like I don't even know where to start because it is tough.
Probably I remember I got like you. I got years ago. I got invited over there by XCMG, and I was busy in work, and I declined the invite. But to look at their factory, but if I went over there now, I reckon because of the relations between Australia and China are sometimes at a knife edge, although they do trade a lot of commodities between each other. There's still a little bit of beef there. If I was over there with my camera, just innocently taking pictures of like infrastructure projects and bulldozers, I'd probably be locked up in a jail for 20 years without trial. I don't know, for espionage. So I don't know if
I went and saw XCMG in end of 2017, and in fairness, they gave me some trouble at the airport for the cameras, but I had the right visa. I had a business visa, and I was with a Chinese business, which gives you a little bit more credibility. And like XCMG, that's the most unrestricted I've been on photos in any factory. And then followed by Liebherr. Liebherr was so cool and so open to, especially their mining excavator factory. They were like, I mean, let's look at them before you publish them, but just take whatever you want. But the XCMG, it was like there was no real restrictions. It's just like just take any photo you want. And they actually they invited me out again like a month ago, and they were like, "Hey, we'd love you to come out on like," and this was probably like end of April, or maybe even like early May. We'd love you to come out like May 20th, and it's like. Sorry, guys. I can't just fly to China like last minute.
This was years ago. This was years ago when they invited me. I can't think where it was, like maybe 5 years ago, and they invited me with like something like 3 or 4 weeks' notice. And I was like, "What? I can't just just go over there. I've got to book time off work and all the other stuff." And
those the excavators though that they run that you referenced are wildly effective. I first saw 390s being used in the oil sands. They have a few of those super rippers up in the oil sands.
Yeah.
And they generate more force than a D11 does in that really hard frozen material. And then there's the contractor VT construction in Vegas running the 6015 now. And
I've seen a photo of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a red cabin on it, hasn't it? Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, but if the force off a 390 is the same as a D11, that must be way beyond what an 11, because it's 1.5 times the weight of a 390.
Yeah.
So, but it's not very exciting. I've seen it work. It's not super exciting to watch, and that is probably monotonous. Like, let me tell you that.
Yeah, I will want that job. Just sat in there scratching all day. God.
But it does not even shrug in rock. It just peels right through it. Just really slow. Just bloop, bloop, like no drama, nothing. Just goes right through it, nonstop. It's insane how effective it is. I know there's some 575s in the States still parked up, but they're buried in like West Virginia.
What we gathered, there's one contractor still using 2 of them.
Yes.
I think what they're called Beaner Coal. I can't think where they're at now. I think they're out in Pennsylvania, maybe. I'm not sure now.
Yeah.
I can't remember. My geography of the States isn't the best.
Yeah.
I think they're still running 2. That's about it in the States, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well. The thing is, the 575 when it was for sale, it was twice the price of a D11. So it was a very specialist machine, and Komatsu would probably persuade you to buy their 475 unless you really needed it. A 575, then they'd be like, "This is a very specialist machine." Obviously, the cost, but it can move a hell of a lot more dirt and rip a lot of rock. But obviously, it's to buy it was that's cost twice the price of D11 or 475. So yeah,
Well,
it's
and
really
like coal mining in the States is not in nowadays, I would say. And it's just getting more and more restricted as the years go by. And so,
mm,
like, where that machine excelled in the Appalachian region in like
yes, that's where
Pennsylvania
it
and
excelled in the mountaintop mining, where they
yeah,
basically just shaving off the mountain into the low-lying areas to reveal the
yeah,
coal. So
yeah,
they just employed all these dozers just to strip. But obviously, that's frowned upon now, that type of mining practice, and so um, yeah, that type of mining and that type of bulk pushing, I don't think is very prominent in the States anymore, is it? So
no, no,
it's that sort of
I missed the
heyday
good
of
old
just pushing stuff into a valley is sort of over. So
yeah.
which yeah,
Yeah, I missed I feel like the good old days of coal mining in the United States. That was really a majority of the mining in America was coal. And now
mm,
we have, a lot of aggregate, but most of our mining now is copper, I would say is our biggest, and gold is another big resource of ours. But we don't do a lot of mining nearly as much in Australia, which is why I think Australia is so interesting too. And I think mining is viewed very differently in Australia. Like
yeah,
even
it's
some
in the media constantly. Mining, everyone's talking about
yeah,
mining. There's Australia's so lucky in regards to the commodities. They've literally got every mineral here,
yeah.
um, and it's an abundance as well. And um, yeah, it's big business and big wages, big money for everyone involved, for the royalties, for the states, for the employees. So um, yeah, it's promoted in a way, like there are restrictions for new mines and what have you, but on the whole, mining is very positive in Australia because it basically keeps the company afloat and keeps the books looking in the black or in the green as such. So that's why you know there's just so much money involved. Yeah. So
I someone I think they said it half jokingly, but I think it was also half serious. Like if you're wearing a mining shirt in Perth, like women will like it because that means you make pretty good money as well.
oh
I
well,
don't know if you
yeah.
found that to be true, but
Uh, yeah, but it is amusing when you go to the Perth airport and it's just the whole airport is just
everybody,
high vis shirts. It's like
everybody, yeah,
yeah, everyone is wearing
yeah,
shirts, and you're not wearing them because you want to show off that you work in the mining industry. It's like we have to wear them because when we fly up to site, we go to work that day,
yeah.
that afternoon. So yeah, but yeah, it's just yeah, the amount of high vis around the airport and just in Perth in general, I guess. But
It's
people just
everywhere.
wear people just wear high vis shirts like in leisure time as well. If you're out on your
Yeah,
boat fishing, yeah, chuck an old high vis shirt on. If you're riding your dirt bike in the pine forest, an
yeah,
old work shirt from a mine I used to work at. I
yeah,
put one on when I'm mowing the lawn. It's just everyone just loves high vis. You just wear them everywhere. Down the pub, yeah, just chuck a high vis on. It looks like
yeah,
you've been working that day.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Um, right on. Well, I know it's late over there, so I don't mean to shoot the shit with you for too long here, but I appreciate
It's all
you
good.
on your off time making some time to talk again. I always I love catching up because, and especially now that I haven't been to the site you're at. I'm hoping to visit the company you're at on the next go, but I at least have some context now because I've flown into a mine. I've seen the iron ore mining process. I've seen the loadout process. I've gotten to see a little bit of it now. So it's like, oh, I kind of understand what you're talking about now.
Yeah. It's the iron ore industry in Western Australia is huge. I actually did a bit of Googling before, and uh, last year, the 2023 financial year, Western Australia exported 893 million tons of iron ore in 1 year.
Crazy.
And each
Crazy.
year they're going to keep ramping up all different mines. So that's over 55% of the world's iron ore needs
Yeah.
come from Western Australia alone.
Yeah.
It's a huge figure.
The only other place I've ever been that's kind of like it from like a scale perspective is the oil sands.
Yeah.
And just it's just like everything is about mining, but it just all across WA. And I just read a book about Gina Reinhardt actually, and
yeah,
fascinating because a lot of it was about her dad who helped develop most of the iron ore fields.
Yeah, Lang Hancock.
Yeah, Lang Hancock. So the whole book was mostly about Lang Hancock and then the subsequent legal battles following his death. But it's incredible how much money just they've generated themselves based on the royalties alone. Like they haven't even.
I think she's the richest woman in Australia, maybe.
Yeah, richest person in Australia.
Or richest person, easy. All right,
yeah. Until recently, hadn't even had a mine. So they like as far as Lang Hancock was he had never actually been in mining. He had just helped develop these mines and had these
all the royalties. Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, she has a huge mine.
Yeah, now.
Yeah. They're running Hitachi gear there.
Yeah, we saw some of their new water carts at West Track that are all pink.
Yes, yeah, a lot of their dump truck trays are pink. I think she's got a pink train. I don't know what else is pink.
Nice.
But the big thing on pink. All their high vis shirts they're in pink, I think, as well. Pink hard hats.
Oh, that's cool. Nice. Yeah. The site we went to with Rio, all of the trays were like a baby blue, but you couldn't tell that any of them were baby blue because they were all just Pilbara color.
Yeah,
You would have as far as you were concerned, they were painted yellow before. You would have no idea that they were blue. So I was all excited going out there because I was like, oh, this is going to be pretty cool for photos. All the trucks are blue because I haven't seen all the blue trays before. But nope, it's all just the exact same color as the earth. It just sticks to everything. You wouldn't know what color it is otherwise.
Yeah, and that dust, you think like before I got there, you'd think, oh, that thing needs to go in the wash bay, get a hot washer on it, get some nice suds, give it a good wash, but it just doesn't come off. That iron ore dust in the intense heat with a bit of water and intense heat next day, a bit of water, it just becomes a new surface, and you just can't wash it off without really strong chemicals, which no one can be bothered doing. So yeah, all our trucks are saying we've got a couple of multicolored trays, pink and blue ones and what have you, and they've all become that brownish color as well.
Yeah, so, I've heard the rainbow colored trays are real common or real popular.
We don't have one of those actually, but they do. No? There's a few rainbow colored trays on other sites. I think my mate sent me a picture of a rainbow counterweight on his digger and something. So yeah.
Wow.
Oh well.
Yeah. I've seen plenty of those. Yeah. If people want to follow you, where do they find you?
Yeah, I'm only on Instagram. I get a lot of messages, people requesting me start a YouTube page, but I just don't have time to edit the footage. I know how long that takes. I've got 2 young kids. My time when I come back from work is just flat out with them. So, and videos are a bit of a no-no anyway. Where I work now, I'm not really supposed to take photos as it is, so I'm really got to be careful. But yes, it's all photos for me. It's just on Instagram, which is English Earth Mover, but I also have a second page called Abandoned Earth Movers. So that is just dedicated to just all the graveyard junk. I find it kind of interesting, and for that particular page, I've opened it up for, well, I encourage people to send in pictures from all around the world of pieces of equipment abandoned in hedgerows and fields and old mine sites. And I found it all pretty interesting. Pieces of equipment which cost millions of dollars sometimes, now just rusting away with weeds all growing through it. So, yeah, I just run those 2 pages. Try to, sometimes I just get so busy. You at work, you don't get time, and then you get off work and you're just trying to, debrief and have some food and do some Skype calls with family and do the gym and all the rest of it. And you think, oh God, I haven't posted on that page anymore. So I've become a bit slack on both social media recently. So just trying to find a bit of time to get back into things again. But yeah, just those 2 pages.
I didn't even realize the abandoned earth movers page was yours for the longest time. And then you're like, oh, hey, by the way, it's me. And it's like, oh,
yeah.
Cool.
I think I commented, I think I messaged you, but I think I was on the wrong account. So I messaged you via we were in a conversation, and then I replied to the conversation via the abandoned earth movers page. And I think you just had a 1-word answer like, okay, yep. And I was like, oh shit, he doesn't know it's me. I better explain who it is. So yeah. So yeah, just do those 2 pages. Some people are doing Facebook pages as well, basically reposting the same thing on Instagram or Facebook. I can't go over that either. So that's weird. Don't you find the audience you see on Facebook? There seems to be a lot of more like boomers or bloody people just bashing you in the comments on Facebook, whereas Instagram seems a bit more reserved or a bit. But I seem to see on Facebook that people are just more aggressive in the comments and more critical and stuff. So yeah,
I think it is like more of a boomer crowd on Facebook. I forget about Facebook. We post our stuff on Facebook, but I don't ever check it. I am never on Facebook, but I'll go on there and look at analytics and just look at like the tens of millions of views and all the comments and this and that. Like, oh my gosh, there's still a lot of people using this. I mean, there's still over 1 billion users, but yeah, it's really critical there. And then YouTube is not a safe space in the slightest.
Oh yeah, people are savage on there, aren't they?
They're just such assholes for whatever reason. Instagram, though, yeah, I think it is more reserved. I think I've been there longer. You have stories on there, so people kind of get to know you a little bit better. I respond to all my DMs, so I've messaged a lot of people over the years, so maybe that helps me a little bit. But yeah, YouTube is not a safe space.
No, yeah, no. So yeah, I'm not on there. I can't see myself. I don't have the content to go on there anyway. Really, I have a few videos from previous job sites, but not anything to be a consistent feed for anyone. So I'll just stick to pottering around on Instagram, I think. So yeah,
fair enough. All right. Well, thanks again for some of your time, late night, Perth, Australia. Appreciate it, and hopefully I meet you one of these days in person. I don't know when.
Yeah, well, let me know when you're next coming to WA, and we'll tee it up. I'll book some leave off if I have some notice or something. Or
yeah, perfect.
Yeah, show you around a few spots.
Yeah, you know all the good spots. That's why I want to hang out with you. Be able to do some cool stuff.